Good morning, beautiful Black people. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a lot of things, actually. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson comes to mind. That's the big thought that I had today, and I wanted to share some of that with you. I took a survey on Judge Ketanji and found that a lot of you, actually, the majority of you, intelligent Black people, are not particularly concerned about Ketanji getting on the Supreme Court. So it's kind of surprising. So the question for today is why would millions of Black people not care that we have the first Black female Supreme Court justice? So I'm going to talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson and break some of this down. So get comfortable, buckle up seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboystv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is blissful, we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I hope you guys are having a good day. I was thinking about some stuff today that you guys know what I do on this podcast. I like to process things and process them hopefully in a way that it's beneficial to you. I want to see you guys win. And I want to say hello to everybody. As you come in, put a hashtag B1 in the chat. Hashtag B1 means we're Black first. We put our community at the top of our priority list. Actually, if I was to lift up my shirt, you can see I got B1 right here on this shirt. This is my B1 t-shirt. If you go to blackwealthtees.com, you can actually find a copy of the shirt or your own shirt if you want to. But anyway, so give me a yes or no. How many of you have been sort of tracking this whole thing with Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson? Anybody been looking into Ketanji and sort of following the whole drama of her being nominated to the Supreme Court and everything? These Supreme Court nominations are typically, pretty complex, pretty interesting. And basically Judge Ketanji came in and they had one goal. The Biden administration had the goal of securing the first Black female appointee to the Supreme Court. Judge Ketanji is somebody that was of extreme interest, particularly to Black people. We all kind of lined up and we're like, okay, who's this lady? What's she all about? What's she doing? And I'll tell you, if you read her bio, and I read her bio, she's very impressive. I mean, this lady went to Harvard. She comes from a good family. I think that they have, some cops in the family and some teachers in the family and some smart people in the family. And she, so that was impressive. You guys know I'm a big advocate for education. I think education is important, right? Black people need to read books. Give me a yes in the chat if you agree that we need to all read more books, right? No, that's basic, but seriously though, really. So I'm not going to fight against a Black person that reads books. I'm not going to fight against a Black person who's trying to excel. I'm not going to fight against a Black person who is trying to be a good person. I think that Judge Ketanji, in most of her life, has lived as a model citizen, right? So as far as human beings go, I don't think that she's any less qualified for the Supreme Court as any white man or white woman that's ever been nominated. In fact, we've had some pretty egregious Supreme Court justices in the past. We've had slaveholders as Supreme Court justices, Klansmen. We've had all kinds of chaos, in terms of the types of people that are selected. And we know, all of us know, give me a yes if you agree, that there was long overdue for a Black woman to get on the Supreme Court. So Joe Biden makes an announcement that pretty much on the surface seemed pretty cool. He says, hey, we're going to get a Black woman on the Supreme Court. I had no problem with Biden saying that, right? I'd have my issues with Biden. There's a lot of weird stuff, that Biden has done, but this wasn't one of those things. I said, yeah, we need a Black woman on the Supreme Court. In fact, if you've been listening to this podcast, you'll go back 10 years. You can literally go back a decade on this podcast. This is how long we've been doing this every day, damn near. And there was a whole discussion about putting a Black woman on the Supreme Court. I was very upset that Obama didn't do it because he promised Dorothy Height that he would, right before she died, he promised Dorothy Height that he was going to put a Black woman on the Supreme Court. So, but instead he nominated Elena Kagan. And I was asked to use my platform to support the nomination of Elena Kagan. I got a call from the White House on this. Literally, I'm like, why would the White House want to call me? I'm nobody. And they called me and they were like, hey, we'd love to have your, because you know what they do. They find black people who have influence and they say, we need you to carry some water for massa. We need you to carry some water. I'm like, I don't carry water for nobody. So who the hell are you? And so basically they gave me a bunch of BS reasons why the black community should get behind Elena Kagan. And I simply said, there's nothing here. There's nothing about this person on any level that is beneficial to black people. So why are you asking me to do this? Do you think I'm as stupid as the people that will vote for you for nothing? Do you think that I'm as dumb as people who just believe anything you say? Do you think I'm as dumb as somebody who's going to think that you actually are going to represent the interests of black people when you've never done that before? No, I don't do that. Show me the evidence and I'll believe you, but there was no evidence, right? So you fast forward, you get Biden as president. He picks Judge Ketanji. Judge Ketanji, again, checks a lot of good boxes, just looks like a judge, carries herself extremely well. I was very impressed. And I also was really appreciative of the fact that Judge Ketanji understands mass incarceration on a personal level. She had an uncle who got life in prison with no parole on a dope charge. And, he was probably a victim of Joe Biden's and Bill Clinton's policies back in the early 90s when they started locking up all the black men for minor drug offenses, but somehow forgot to lock up white people for the same stuff, right? So ultimately you have, still to this day, you have thousands and 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 thousands of black people that are still in prison right now for things that they were locked up for in the 1990s. These are your prisoners of war. These are the people that you must not forget. These are the people that you're distracted from thinking about when they get you focused on the fact that Lil Pookie got shot Lil Pookie got shot in North Dakota, and you're all rallied about getting justice for Pookie, and all the ambulance chasers show up and to get paid, and the civil rights superheroes like we need justice for Pookie. We need justice for Pookie. Well, not that I don't want justice for Pookie, but I need justice for everybody. You understand? See, justice needs to spread like the coronavirus. Like, you need justice for everybody on a systematic level. A lot of folks, the reason that they get you, that they keep you in this box, they keep you in the trap, is because they're thinking on a systematic level. You're thinking on what we call in economics, we call this an idiosyncratic level. You're thinking on a very specific level. You're thinking about one situation. They designed the system to deal with 100,000 situations, right? So effectively, when they get you focused on one person or one situation or one issue, they get you distracted from the fact that there's literally probably about 100,000 black men and women right now locked up that are begging for your attention because they were locked up under the Biden crime laws, which were as bad as the Nazi Holocaust. They were literally as bad as any Holocaust that I've ever heard of, because literally you're talking about mass genocidal extermination of black people, particularly the black family. And this is something that Judge Ketanji had firsthand experience of. Her uncle got life in prison with no parole, if I'm not mistaken, for a drug charge. Well, Judge Ketanji, this is where we have to turn the wheel a little bit and start talking about the challenges of Judge Ketanji. Now, Judge Ketanji, if you want to know how this story ends, her uncle got out of prison. Her uncle had his sentence chopped. They just said, okay, you're commuted, or whatever they call it. They, pardoned, all that. Well, you know how she got it done? Can anybody guess how Judge Ketanji's uncle got out of prison early, when he was supposed to be locked up like your uncle? Your uncle, it's a lot of y'all got uncles and cousins that are in prison right now for dope. I got a cousin in prison for a dope offense. So my father went to prison for drugs. Did anybody know how Judge Ketanji's uncle got out of prison? Well, it was because of a man named Barack Obama. Judge Ketanji, because she went to Harvard and because she's always been part of the elite, she was connected with the Obamas. So she made a phone call to somebody who made another phone call, who called the Obamas, and Obama said, oh yeah, we'll commute this one guy's sentence. Now, why do I have an issue with that? Do I have an issue with the fact that he got his sentence commuted? No, because it was an injustice from the beginning. The issue I have is that this privilege, this form of wealth privilege, this Harvard privilege, we talk about white privilege, but I think that instead of just talking about white privilege, you need to talk about the privilege of the rich, the privilege of the powerful, the privilege of those who are connected with Harvard, the privilege of those who are in high levels of government, right? These are the individuals that are able to kind of skirt around the things that regular Black people go through. You know, there is an experience that Black people, foundational Black Americans, descendants of slaves, go through that other people don't necessarily experience. I'm not mistaken. I got to double check, but I believe Ketanji Brown Jackson's family is not African American. They are not of the same lineage as many of you. I'm not saying that this makes them bad people. I'm not saying that they're not extraordinary in their own right. I'm not saying that she's not worthy of being considered for the Supreme Court. What I'm saying is that we are not the same. Our experiences are not the same. When my daddy, when my uncle, when my cousin all got locked up on dope charges, wasn't nobody calling the Obamas to try to make sure that they got out of jail, right? So that Harvard graduate who married a guy, I'm gonna put his image up on the screen. We're gonna talk honestly about that. He married a guy, Dr. Jackson. She married a 7th generation Harvard graduate. So that means that their world, their universe, is not your universe. Their reality is not your reality. They don't go through what you go through. Their relatives get locked up. They know how to get around all that. So her view of justice is probably not the same as our view of justice, our experience with the justice system. Now, I'm going to move on and I'm going to explain to you, I'm going to tell you the results of a poll I just took amongst you about Judge Ketanji, and I'm going to give you my interpretation of that poll. Before I do that, could you take 1 second? Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please subscribe. Also, some of you told me that I mentioned to you guys yesterday, we had a discount on the passes for the All Black National Convention, which is at the end of October in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we're all going to gather together and really work on these issues together as a collective. Someone told me that the website got mobbed or something, and we hit the cap on the number of tickets available or something, and so you couldn't get through. So what I did was I extended the discount for one more day. So for one more day, you can get 30% off your early bird passes. So you may want to get them now because we will sell out. The convention last year was so amazing that a lot of people bought their tickets early. So if you go to boycewatkins.com, you can still get your passes. So I hope you'll bring your family. It's like a big family reunion. I think you're gonna like it. I know you're gonna like it. All right. So anyway, let's go back into this. So here's what happened. So I took a poll. I always like to know what you guys think. I always like to know the thoughts of intelligent Black people. And so what I did was I went to my YouTube channel, drboycetv.com, and in the community section, you can do little polls. So I did a poll, and I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can see what the poll results are. It's really fascinating. So I did a poll. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Let me see. Let me hit this button. Okay. There we go. I think we're through. All right. Let me know if you can see it. Give me a yes so you can kind of see it. All right. And here you can see where I basically asked a simple question. I said, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was just confirmed to the Supreme Court. How do you feel about that? And I gave you a few different options of what your response could be. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. And the responses were either it's great for Black people, it's good for Black people, not great. The other response was I don't care, like I'm just neutral. The fourth was it's bad for Black people, but not terrible. And then the fifth was it's terrible for Black people. 55% of you said I don't care. 55% of you just literally do not care that we just nominated the first Black Supreme Court justice or Black female Supreme Court justice in history. More than half of you. Now, mind you, you guys are not like everybody else. You know, this platform is for intelligent Black people. I alienate a lot of people when I say intelligent Black people. They think, oh, you're being uppity, you're being a snob, you're not connecting with regular folks. Well, no, that's not true. I'm just challenging you to be your best. Well, what am I supposed to do? Say I want you to be ignorant Black people? No, we got rappers that teach you how to be ignorant. I don't want to teach you how to be ignorant. I'm a professor. I want to teach you how to be smart. I think you got to be smart for your own survival because ignorance will get you killed. So no, this is for intelligent Black people. So those of you that either are intelligent or want to be more intelligent, then this is the place for you. So that's who I surveyed. And so to find that 55% of all Black people that are on this platform, thousands of you responded to the poll, do not care that she was elected, is really fascinating. I'm going to interpret this to mean that in the beginning, initially, when she, rose to the forefront, a lot of people were very excited. I took the time to read her entire bio. I read her whole life story from beginning all the way to the end, because to me, that tells me the root of who you are, how you grew up, what you cared about as a kid, what you went through, that tells me a lot. Like, for example, Barack Obama, I wasn't surprised he went after healthcare reform after I found out what happened to his mother. Right, his mother had a tough experience with the healthcare process. His grandmother, it was either his mother or his grandmother, right? And then also with Elena Kagan, I noticed that in her whole career, she was never controversial because she wanted to be on the Supreme Court. The only time she did something controversial was when it came to gay rights. That's when I figured out, like, I think that she's probably LGBT and just isn't telling anybody, right? And again, this is just me, my spidey senses kicking in. Maybe I'm wrong sometimes, but I don't, sometimes I'm right, right? So with Judge Ketanji, I noticed that that thing with her uncle, I think that was very formative. Also, I think it's okay to process who a person chooses to marry. A lot now, this is controversial for people. This is controversial in my own life because I have relatives who are in an interracial marriage. I don't hate their spouses. I don't hate them for marrying a white person. But I really think that when you're talking about who you marry, it does matter. We talk about investing all the time on this platform, but usually we're talking about investing money. But what y'all have to understand is that your biggest investments are not money. Your biggest investment is your life. So when you get married to the person you choose to marry, that's the greatest investment that you'll ever make, because that has the ability to make or break you. And so if you look at memes like this, which honestly it's a little bit, it can be defined as a little bit mean spirited, and I get that. But I think somebody put this up and they said, do you really think that people like this really have the Black community's best interests at heart? And so you have a Judge Ketanji with her husband, Dr. Jackson, who is a 7th generation Harvard graduate, who probably played some part in her getting access to what she needed to get access to be considered for the Supreme Court. Let's be clear. If she hadn't gone to Harvard, there's a good chance she wouldn't have been considered. There's a deep connection between Harvard and the Supreme Court in terms of the preservation of power. You have Clarence Thomas and his wife, Virginia, who is a very, very radical, crazy Republican. You have Kamala Harris and her husband, Doug. She calls him Dougie. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, wow. So she went to in HBCU and met all these Black men, but she ends up married to Dougie, who happens to be a high-powered lawyer who got her plenty of connections. And then they have an image of Van Jones and his wife. I don't know much about Van Jones's wife, so I'm not here to talk about that. But my point is to say that, that marriage does matter. Who a person chooses to marry makes a huge difference. Again, I refer to the Obamas. Give me a yes or no. Do you think that a Black America would have seen Barack Obama in the same light if he had married Becky instead of Michelle? Like, do you think that him marrying Michelle made a difference for his career or in terms of his acceptance amongst the Black community? Yes or no? Yes or no? I think it made a huge difference. I think that if Barack had a white wife, he probably wouldn't have been president. So in his particular case, getting that Black vote, because the black vote is everything in these elections. That's why they always play with your emotions so much during an election year, because they need your vote. So getting that Black support was critical. There was a big meeting in a hotel room between Barack Obama, I believe it was Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., David Axelrod, and a couple other people. And they sat in this hotel room for hours. Cornel West himself told me about this meeting where they sat there for hours trying to figure out, how do we get Black people to support Barack Obama? If we do not get Black people on board, then this man cannot get elected. Now, even before that point, I had actually said, I think Obama could get elected. I think that if Black people really get behind him, I think he's going to really do well. And so eventually he caught momentum and then he became president. So who you marry does make a difference. And I think that it's okay to kind of say, yeah, you married a white guy, which means that you're not really in the struggle with both feet, right? You're not really committed to the Black struggle the way you might pretend to be. Now, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that we're going to give you credit for the things you did do, but we're not going to give you credit for the things you didn't do. And that's what they do with politics. This is why you have to really be a critical thinker, because what they'll do is they'll commit to one thing and they'll say, okay, I should get credit for what I committed to, but also I'm going to do a mind trick to get you to believe that I deserve credit for things I didn't commit to, things I did not do. So an example will be Elena Kagan. Elena Kagan was committed to Harvard. She was committed to the Jewish community. She was committed to her LGBT causes. She gets credit for that. She deserves credit for that. But then they tried to say, oh, but she also should get credit for being committed to black people. And I said, well, why is that? They said, well, because she at Harvard, she had the Thurgood Marshall chair in the Harvard Law School. I said, who cares what chair she's sitting in? I don't care that the Thurgood, they in academia, they to make people feel special, they give them these chairs that are named after people. So she had this, her salary came from the Thurgood Marshall chair, which had a bunch of money, and they pay your salary out of that money that goes with the chair. And I'm like, I don't give a damn what chair she sat in. I want to see what kind of action she was committed to while she sat in that chair. What did she do when she was the dean of the Harvard Law School? And it turned out that this woman, in 5 years of working at Harvard, had never hired a black person. I said, so you're telling me that you want me to give credit to a person who never hired a black person as if they somehow are advocates for black people? Do you know that's racial discrimination, right? You know she's a bigot, right? You understand that the KKK could not have a worse hiring record with black people than her, right? You know that there's no number lower than 0 when it comes to hiring, right? Right? You know the only thing she could have done below 0 is hire -2 black people or -3 black people, right? Which means she would run around getting black people fired. The only way she could do worse than what she did is if she went around strategically eliminating black people, which that isn't out of the question. So how in the hell are you trying to get me to believe that this person is down for black folks when every single thing she's done has shown she's not? So with Judge Ketanji, I think it's the same way. I think that you can look at her and say, look, you get credit for being smart. You get credit for being great at what you do. You get credit for going to Harvard. You get credit for marrying your husband, who's helped you in unimaginable ways. I think that their marriage, it looks to me like he's supportive of her. I just my little Uncle Boyce advice for the fellas is like, if you got a woman that's a high flyer, don't be intimidated by that. Support that. My wife is a professor like me. There are times where I'm the star of the show, and there's times where she's the star of the show, and I gotta be. Sometimes she's Beyonce, sometimes I'm the backup singer, and sometimes she's the backup singer to me. Right? You can't have these relationships where the man is always out front. Right? So I think that if you want to just sort of pick up a lesson that's race neutral from all of this that you're watching, is that when you get to a point where you are confident in who you are and what you've accomplished, you have to be mutually supportive, because when you have two high-powered people going into a relationship, you kind of have to come together in healthy ways and then learn how to stay out of each other's way. If you don't, you're going to have these clashes. I think what's interesting is that now that I'm thinking about it, last night, my wife's a relationship therapist. We did a deep conversation about Will and Jada in that video where Jada's recording him and Will doesn't want to be recorded. And he's like, stop using me for your social media clout. Like, stop trying to use me to get views on your show. And we both agreed that appeared to be very invasive, very intrusive, very disrespectful, because you don't do that, right? And what we wondered is, I said, I wonder if there's like a clash, like a battle, like a competition, where Jada's saying, well, wait, you're getting all the shine. Everybody likes you. Everybody's following you. And I want people to pay attention to me and my Red Table Talk, which to me has become a complete shit show. Now Jada is literally getting her ratings. I mean, I'm sorry, forgive me for saying that. I'm not trying to be mean. And I know, I told you guys, I met Will Smith's brother and talked to him for a very long time. And I like the guy. He's so smart. But I got this impression that I said, shit, like she's embarrassing the family in order to get internet clout. I just didn't get that. There's a mystique. There's like a type of reverence that people had for the Smith family, similar to what they have for the Obamas, or similar to what they had for the with Jay-Z and Beyonce. And if you notice, Jay-Z and Beyonce are very, very quiet. They keep the mystique out there. They speak in selective fashion. They don't come out and say, let me do a tell-all about our relationship. Let me tell you about my porn addiction. Let me tell you about the time I had an entanglement with one of my kids' friends. Like they don't do all of that, right? So it's like crossing the lines a little bit too much. And so in that particular context, I couldn't help but wonder. I said, is there a competition happening here? Like, is Jada a little bit salty that Will is kind of the big guy and she's still trying to build her career? I don't get it. I just don't understand it. So anyway, with Judge Ketanji, what I give her husband credit for is that, he's sitting back and he's supporting his wife. I'm like, that's cool. You might be, maybe I wish she had married a brother, but I think that's really cool. But I also think that, that the reason that so many black people are disconnected to her, well, one was kind of a more political issue in terms of how she responded to the whole gender thing. And I'm going to tell you the honest to God truth, that didn't bother me as much. I don't really get as offended when you support rights for people that are LGBT or whatever, because we have LGBT people in our community. I think we should love them the same. But there is an agenda, right? And the agenda is something that bothers me. Like, I don't believe in telling a 5-year-old that they're gay, or talking to children about sex at school. Like, you teach them how to read and write first. Y'all ain't even teach them how to read and write. The kids graduate and can't read, but they know everything. They know that there's 58 genders or whatever the hell that they're teaching now. Like, I don't like that. I don't like my child not knowing how to read, but yet they know that a man can have a baby, or they think that a man can have a baby. You're confusing me right now. That's a problem, right? But I think at the same time, though, I would encourage you to not get obsessed with these issues, right? Like, I think that when you get obsessed with sort of blocking the ability of people who are different from you to kind of express themselves in their own way, I think you got to ask yourself this question: like, what is this really taking away from me, right? And I don't think that her support of LGBT or trans or whatever is necessarily taking anything away from me, because I run my household the way I run it, right? But I, so I get that. I understand. I hear that part, but I didn't get as triggered by that as much as I did kind of by this idea of kind of asking myself, why is it, fundamental question here, why is it that in the 200-something year history of the Supreme Court, we have never had a Supreme Court justice who married a black person? Why is it? I think that is a question you can ask without being an asshole. You can ask that question without calling her a bed wench or anything like that. I think you could ask that question without being disrespectful of anybody's interracial relationship. So this question is, again, it's not anti-interracial marriage, it's really pro-black marriage, because we understand, if you know the history, and again, you guys know we do the book club every week, Wednesdays at 8:30. So I hope you'll join us, because we're reading Dr. Claude Anderson books, Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth. And one of the things I couldn't help but notice when I read to you all 85 laws that were passed specifically to control, manipulate, and exploit black people, one of the themes of those laws is that they wanted to dismantle black families. They wanted to dismantle and undermine black marriage. They also wanted to dismantle and undermine black unity of any form. Well, your family is the ultimate form of unity that you have in your life. So to me, it's not a coincidence that black marriage is seen as a threat in white established empowerment or power systems. I think Barack Obama marrying Michelle was allowed because Michelle helped Barack get a lot of votes from black people. You guys are the tipping point. You're the ones who get people into office. Your vote, without your vote, the Democrats cannot survive. So that's why they were okay with Michelle being on his arm. But if it were coming down to a Supreme Court justice appointment, Michelle would have disqualified him from the nomination. Do you really think, give me a yes or no, do you really think that Barack Obama could go through the Supreme Court confirmation process and be picked for the Supreme Court with Michelle as his wife? With her, rolling her eyes and at the establishment and basically telling it like it is every now and then. Every now and then the black woman in Michelle would come out, and that would cause some problems, right? She's very popular, sure, but something like a Supreme Court confirmation isn't something that's just based on popularity. You can't get voted into that by regular people. You're getting voted in by leaders, political leaders. And again, I think that there's a reason why there's never been a Supreme Court justice who's ever married a black person. Also, pay attention. There's never, there's rarely been. Let me think here. Thurgood Marshall and Clarence Thomas were both. I think they're both descendants of slaves, if I'm not mistaken. I got to look that up. But I think Ketanji, where she disconnects from black people, in my view, is one, she's married to the white dude, which means she's not going to really necessarily, I think, connect to what black families go through or what black communities are really going through. And then two, she's not foundational black American. She's not a descendant of slaves. So when that reparation stuff goes across her desk, there's no telling how she's going to respond to that. I don't know if you can say, I know that you can't say that a person who is rooted in Africa understands the challenges of what it means to be African American, or what it means to be black in America, or whatever you want to call it. I know I got my Moorish friends who tell me you shouldn't say black or whatever, but I'm gonna say black. Okay, that's my prerogative, right? So at the end of the day, I understand the hesitation with Ketanji Brown Jackson, and I think that her nomination is fine in terms of the people. And if she were white, I wouldn't care. And I think that what I like about people's analysis of this is that you're able to discern the difference between a black face in a high place versus a black person who really has your back. Right? A lot of people supported her just because she was black. And at the end of the day, that's a really screwed up way to do your politics. Identity politics is the biggest trick that they use against you every single year. They'll put a black face on a baboon and you'll be voting for a baboon because you're like, well, I'm showing black unity by supporting the baboon. I'm not saying she's a baboon. What I'm saying is that you cannot simply look at somebody's skin color and say, oh, that person's automatically for me. I think that somebody made a point. They were calling out one of the black Republicans, Tim Scott, because he didn't support Ketanji Brown Jackson. They were saying, oh, that's a disgrace. That's so messed up. That you're such a sellout. And I don't disagree that Tim Scott's a problem. I mean, I don't like the guy. I wouldn't vote for him. But I said, but what if Ketanji Brown Jackson had been, I said, you're a Democrat. Tim Scott's a Republican. So what if Ketanji had been a Republican? Then you wouldn't be supporting Ketanji either. If she was a Republican, you would be saying, oh, I'm not supporting that. She's a sellout. She's this, that. Okay. So that makes you just as bad as him, right? That makes you, because if she had a different label, these are labels created by white folks, this Democrat Republican thing. If she had a different label, your support for her would disappear, right? You'd be looking at her as another Clarence Thomas. So stop it. Just stop it. It's silly. Where this comes from, in my view, is that they somehow, these people, these liars, got you believing that being Democrat is the same as being black. If you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Well, you can kiss my whole entire black ass with that nonsense, because that's simply not true. Black people have every right. Freedom means doing what the hell you want to do. That's what freedom means. You talk about freedom all the time, and a lot of people that talk about freedom don't know nothing about being free, and they don't advocate for freedom. Freedom means doing what you want to do. So again, when you're talking to me and we're in this space, you can vote for whoever the hell you want to vote for, and you have the right to be black in whatever form of expression you think your blackness should fit. If your goal is to improve the black community, if you put the black community first, then you and I are cool. That means that you could disagree with me on almost any issue. But if I get a sense that you firmly believe in what you believe, because you really believe this is going to make black people better off, this is going to bring black families together, this is going to make black communities safer, this is going to help black children have a better future, this is going to help black people build more wealth, then you and I are cool. We ain't got to be the same in order for us to be aligned. Okay, so get out of this identity politics. This is what's kept you in this trap that you're in to this point. This is why you haven't made any progress in the last 40 or 50 years. This is why you vote in every election and nothing changes as a result of that. It's because they got you living in a damn loop where every election is the same as the last one, the same stupid tricks they use, the same nonsense they put in front of you, the same BS identity politics, and they understand you no different from the way a scientist understands rats in a lab. They have you brainwashed. Unbrainwash yourself and start engaging in critical thinking. You cannot support somebody just because they're black, because there's a lot of snakes with black faces on them, and these people are not there to help you. They're there to use you in order to get votes. So that's my 2 cents. That's what I believe. I'm sticking to it. All right. So anyway, guys, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. BoyceWatkins.com is my website. If you want to join our book club, the book club is free. We are reading Powernomics, page by page, word by word, paragraph by paragraph. This is one of the greatest books of all time. This was considered by Ebony Magazine to be the economic Bible for black people. Every black person needs to go through this. So some of y'all asked me if Dr. Anderson had an audio version of this book. He does not. So I said, you know what? I'm going to read this. And every Wednesday night at 8:30, we're reading this out loud and interpreting every single paragraph. We've already completed Black Labor, White Wealth. So if you'd like to join, just go to BoyceWatkins.com and you can join us Wednesday night. It's totally free for the community. And also, last but not least, If you want to come to the convention, the All Black National Convention, I'm going to gather all the book club members at the convention for a session. If you guys want to come and join that as well. So, and again, don't forget, if you I mentioned to you guys yesterday that there was the early bird discount on the tickets. I'm sorry if you couldn't get through to the system. There was too many people ordering, I guess, at once or something. I don't know, something slowed it down. But I extended it for one more day, so you can go to BoyceWatkins.com and feel free to go take a look. All right, guys, have a good day. God bless you. Love you. I will talk to you soon. Be good now. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is blissful, we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.